This is the best division, record-wise, in the NFL. Look at these teams. Yeah. Eagles, Cowboys, Giants.
Awesome.
Well, Commanders at the bottom there. But other than that, best division in the NFL currently, guys. Who's had the more surprising start to the season here, though? The Giants, Jason, or the unbeaten Eagles?
Yeah, I'm going with the Giants. I mean, the Giants are in a rebuild. They have a new coach, Brian Dable. The expectations were low. We watched Saquon earlier in training camp. Went on the podcast. They talked to him, and he was just like, F everybody, I am going to go crazy. And that's because everybody was writing him off. He's injury riddled. We don't know if he can be that same guy from his rookie season. And he has been unbelievable. The Giants don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It can just be Saquon Barkley. Let's just line up in the Wildcat. Saquon, you just do your thing. Daniel Jones, you come in, just get the snap and just hand it off to Saquon. Because look at this. This should be a 10-yard loss. He makes a few people miss, cuts it back. The speed and the explosion is there. And Giants fans are fired up. I'm riding into the studio today. 6 o'clock in the morning, guys working, walking to work, Giants hoodie on, proud. The Veterans November, that edition, but they're fired up. Everybody's talking about it. They're all over the newspaper. So for me, it's definitely the Giants. The Eagles, the expectations were high for them. The question marks around Jalen Hurts, yes. But this Giants football team, 3-1 right now, heading across the pond to London.
The record's great. It's their style of football that I think is so surprising and what's so endearing to Giants fans. Ian was joking that I was referencing every Giant from the 1980s. This is how they played. This is how it was. They had 3 tight end sets there 17 different times yesterday. On one of them, Daniel Jones running a bootleg, and you've got 3 tight ends who are not household names out there just blocking for him, and Daniel Jones is running for a touchdown. You're talking 3 tight end sets. This brings me back to the aforementioned Zeke Mowat and Mark Bavaro and Howard Cross. And that's how the Giants used to play. It'd be a handoff to Otis Anderson or Joe Morris or Rodney Hampton, and you'd win a game 17-10, or you'd win a game 20-12, as was the case here. Both quarterbacks hurt. Daniel Jones, 76 yards rushing. I don't think he had many yards passing. And you go through the receiving yards. I think their leading receiver was Darius Slayton with 1 catch. Guess what? This isn't how football's supposed to be played in 2022, but this is what it's going to take for the Giants to be competitive. And if it's Saquon's last year with the Giants contract-wise and Daniel Jones's last year, they are riding them to the very end. And I'll tell you that. Saquon might get 100 touches a game, and the Giants would say, well, let's see how the contract situation works out. This is a fun Giants-style football. It's a reminiscent one, and those uniforms were perfect yesterday. Every Giants fan who's been with this team for 20 or 30 years knows this brand of football. Maybe the air raid football that's taken over the NFL, that doesn't really fit Giants football, especially in those conditions in that building.
The uniforms were perfect, but the Eagles are actually perfect. And it's not that big of a surprise that they're good. And it is a huge surprise that the Giants are 3-1. It's a surprise how good Jalen Hurts has been. Peter brought it up. Is this the MVP of the league? We knew we had a lot of questions about this guy, a ton. He did not look ready in that playoff game last year. He did not look super ready in the preseason. He was Mr. WIP for the whole preseason. This guy's he's been unbelievable. I don't know if there is a cooler player in the league right now. I like how he plays. I like how he talks. I like how he dresses. I like how he runs. Like, everything about him is unbelievably likable, including his college background and all he went through there. He's been awesome. This is the hugest surprise in the league for me, not even the NFC East, how good Jalen Hurts has been. And they're 4-0. They got an interesting matchup against Kyler this week. And then the big one, Dallas, national TV. Dallas, who has owned Philadelphia, who smashed them twice last year. That's a big time. If they get to 6-0, they're already the biggest story in the league. I really do think so. I cannot believe how good Jalen Hurts has been. We picked him to win the division. All that's not a surprise. 3-1, he's playing fine. He's been spectacular. Not good, not great, spectacular.
He's been great. The Eagles, we expected to be good. The Giants at 3-1. You were talking about the Jets. Oh, you'd be happy with 2-2.
Yeah.
3-1. It's really impressive. But not is it just impressive, their record. It's how they're getting it done. I mean, I know you're talking about how they're getting it done, but you mentioned one of the Darius Slayton, 1 reception. If we can put up this full screen of who he's had to work with, I mean, they're missing guys left. Like, look at his stars and what they've done. Kenny Golladay, 2 receptions. Kadarius Toney, he's been out. Wan'Dale Robinson, he's been out. Sterling Shepard out for the season. I mean, you just listed everybody I can list on offense here. And now who's was left, and yet this team is 3-1. So I think props to the Giants, props to Dable for what he has done there and turning this thing around and getting it going in the right direction. But, especially a huge kudos for how they are doing it given the roster that is out, because I know that there's no excuses in this league, and I know every team will say nobody feels sorry for us, but the reality of the situation is the Giants are dealing with big names being out, not a lot to go to, and yet it hasn't mattered. It hasn't forced them to stumble. They got creative even in mid-game with Daniel Jones being injured and how they were taking it. It's insane. And so, again, I think a lot of that credit Dable and what he is doing and what he's got these guys believing in, really impressive. Even more so impressive when you look at who's been out. I think they've been great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you didn't see it, Daniel Jones goes out. Tyrod goes out. Saquon was playing quarterback, not only for like a play, for basically a series, and they didn't even blink. They're that type of team, and I think it's Dable. He's been awesome.
And I think, too, but when you talk about that mentality of when you want a guy that goes, oh, let's go for it, you want, like, Saquon, no problem. I'll go in at quarterback, no problem. I got it. No big deal. And, like, that, I think, fires people up, right? Like, throw us more adversity. We'll handle it. And that's what they've been doing.
Hey, in the defense, Wink Martindale, they blitz from all angles at all times, and Wink has those guys. They don't give up a lot of points. You can win games when that's the case.
Crazy. We talked about Baltimore, where Wink was, and they're almost last in the league. And then we're talking about the Giants making plays on defense to win football games. We talked about that in the preseason. Wink Martindale has been really good as a Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator. Now with the Giants doing some good things.